Charlie.
Mark, 1 Charlie.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm full of optimism.
Einstein's theory of relativity.
We're still seeing it quite well through that haze.
T-minus 37 seconds.
The fight is growing confident.
E equals MC.
That all men are created equal.
About the future innovations.
And growing strength in the air.
Something's happening coming up on station.
This is Finding Your Frequency with your hosts, Jeff Spinard and Ryan Treasure. It's time to speak up, share your voice, and hear from the thought leaders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of Finding Your Frequency. I'm your host, Ryan Treasure. And man, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening to the show. If you guys are listening to this program live or pre-recorded, we're listening to it right here on Black Friday. And I'm not at work because I'm shopping. I'm buying TVs for $99 and an air fryer, which my wife wants. Shh, don't tell her. I'm going to get her one for Christmas, only because it's going to benefit the whole house. We all love air frying food. It's fantastic. But you guys, we've got a great show for you today right here on Finding Your Frequency on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. You're listening to the Variety Channel. And, we've been doing quite a few different shows around leadership and some important components of leadership. We talked to Omar Harris a couple of weeks ago about servant leadership and what that means to be a servant and a leader at the same time, because we all know, you got to serve. I mean, I think it doesn't matter whether you're a leader, you're starting a business, you're an entrepreneur. You're never going to get anything out of life if you don't have some kind of service. You've got to give up something to get a little something. So that's some advice that I'm going to throw at you. We got a couple of great guests for you guys today. I mean, like super good guests, okay? Karin Hurt, David Dye, these guys, they help leaders achieve breakthrough results without losing their soul. Nobody wants to lose their soul, especially right now. We've already been going through way too much in 2020. Let's keep that soul. They're the founders of Let's Grow Leaders, an international leadership development and training firm, and award-winning authors of Courageous Cultures, How to Build Teams of Micro-Innovators, Problem Solvers, and Customer Advocates. Oh, who doesn't like customer advocates? And Winning Well, a manager's guide to getting results without losing your soul. Karin is a top leadership consultant and CEO of Let's Grow Leaders, a former Verizon wireless executive who's named to Inc. magazine's list of great leadership speakers. And David, former executive, elected official, and president of Let's Grow Leaders. Karin and David are committed to their philanthropic initiative, Winning Wells, where they're bringing clean well water to the people of Cambodia. Wow, what an awesome thing to do.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys for jumping on too. I know I was online earlier today looking at your guys' schedule of events and like where you're going to be over the next couple of months. And I was like, man, these guys are busy, which is good because got to stay busy, got to get the word out, especially if, you're authors and, and public speakers. It's always important to stay, in front of the masses because it's all too easy nowadays for people to kind of forget who you are and you dwindle off, when everybody's stuck at home, right? And their whole reality is completely
it's
different.
been very interesting in this pivot to working from home. We're busier than ever with programs. So, people need leadership development right now. And there is a real thirst and a real understanding of how important that is to support your teams.
Yeah. Coming into the Thanksgiving holiday here, we have been at our peak frequency in terms of the most leadership development programs we've ever done in this stretch of time. So, we're obviously grateful for that, but we're encouraged to see so many businesses and leaders taking that leadership development seriously and recognizing the importance for their people.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really make goals or accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in business if you don't have goals and leadership to be able to lead the people to those goals. So, I think now too, with the kind of the sphere of things that have been happening in the country and around the globe, pandemic, elections, all of this kind of stuff, just looking at, the sheer space that we're all sitting in right now, I feel like leadership is of utmost importance right now, even more than it was, a week ago. Extremely important. Why don't you guys kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves. I think that we'll set the tone for the interview based on that, because, for us at Finding Your Frequency, we always want to hear that story, that journey. Where was that aha moment, right? Where you're like, I don't want to be a Verizon executive anymore. And David's like, I'm done being an elected official and being an executive and doing this. And, what was that story, and what was that time where you guys had that like aha moment of, I have something to say. I need to, step outside of my comfort zone and go find my frequency.
Yeah. So for me, I had 20 years at Verizon. The first decade was human resources, leadership development, organizational development training, all those things, merger integration. Second decade was a variety of field assignments. So I led a 2,200 person sales team, a 10,000 person customer service organization. And there was a moment. There was a moment where I was actually flying around on the corporate jet, which was a super big deal for me, and I was with my boss's boss. And there was a moment where there was some leadership behavior that I would describe as toxic, something that I just said, oh, nobody should act that way. We can get these breakthrough results. We had been getting breakthrough results, and it didn't need to be that way. And I thought, and I was, in succession planning to continue to grow. And like, gosh, if that's what, if that behavior is what they're grooming me for, I don't want it. But what I did there in that moment was not quit, but I went back into the back of that jet and I wrote down all my leadership values and how I believed you could get great results without losing your soul. And that Sunday, I started a leadership blog where I began sharing stories and practical tools and, never using the words of, never saying where I worked, just created this thing, Let's Grow Leaders, and just started telling the stories. And what I did not expect is I thought, my team will watch it. Maybe some of these people at the outsourced call centers that I am supporting will read it, but it got an international following. Because apparently I'm not the only one who thinks you need to get breakthrough results without losing your soul, right? And so I started getting asked to speak, to do consulting. Hey, when are you going to write your book? I'm like, whoa, no, I have this day job, right? I have this day job, and I really didn't intend to quit. But then I thought, oh, that sounds really cool. What if I did do that for a living? And so I gave Verizon a bunch of notice, 4 months notice, and I built a transition plan. And I went out and started Let's Grow Leaders. So that's my part of the story. And I'll show you, David will share where he comes in.
Nice.
I love the title of this show, Finding Your Frequency. And for me, that's a frequency I first tapped into very young. I think I was 11 years old when I first started exploring these notions of leadership and how you bring people together. And I was horrible at it. I mean, I locked all my brothers and sisters in the basement in order to get the house clean, that kind of thing. Horrible leadership. But as I had my career in education and human service and did the elected official thing and all of that influence-based leadership, you start learning what works. And I would consume anything I could looking for answers of how do you do this well? Same mission of how do you lead with people in view and get the results you need and feel good about yourself when you go to sleep that night and not sacrifice your humanity. And, you can see leaders who do that. But that moment for me that you're talking about was in the work I was doing as an executive at that point. I was replicating organizations around the country. And a lot of that had coaching and mentoring and development components for it for senior leaders in those new organizations. And I had been doing all that locally, and then I'm now doing it nationally, and it got to be too much. I couldn't meet with people any longer to do it at the volume I needed to do it. So I started writing. And similar to Karin, I started a blog. And I started the blog for internal reasons to say, okay, here are the things I want to make sure and pass on and equip you with. And, and that took off and spread. And that's actually the way that I met Karin. Karin and I met online. And I like to say, it's not that I was swiping left or right. I mean, I would have swiped whatever the right direction. I don't actually know which is the correct direction to swipe.
It's a good answer, David.
We met online through leadership. Also a true answer. I honestly don't know, but we met through the leadership writing. And there was a time where I was reading an HR publication and came across an article that I thought I had written, and I'm reading it going, gosh, I don't remember submitting this to this publication. it's cool they picked it up. Well, I get to the very end, and the final paragraph had a different flavor than what I would have written. And I went, oh, this isn't mine. This is Karin Hurt. Oh, okay. I know of Karin through, leadership writing circles. And so I called and said, hey, listen, we are super aligned. Like, I could have written the first 7/8 of this thing. We should collaborate on something someday. And I can tell you're getting ready to head out anyway. And Karin says, wait, what? I haven't said that, have I? I said, oh no, your writing's just getting edgier. I can tell I was 6 months ahead. I finally had this. My moment was as I was looking at all of these of my own performance evaluations over the years, and I saw this for 16 years. I had the same comment, some version of the same comment with regard to what do you enjoy most about your work? And for me, it was always the people development side of things, helping people become that best version of themselves. And I had been doing that in a leadership and management context for so many years that it was one of those moments where the universe strikes the gong, you find your frequency, and it's like, I need to do that. That's the work I should be doing. And so I started my own business to do that. And then
so we decided to write a book together because we pretty much were writing the same book. And we wrote the whole book while David was living in Colorado. I was living in Maryland. It wasn't until after the book was published that we realized we had fallen in love. So we merged our businesses together, got married, and then are now on this mission to help people around the world with very practical tools and techniques.
Wow, what a great story. Hey everybody, I wanted to tell you about this great shaving product that I've been using lately. Not only is it awesome, it will save you money. Enough to buy 26 cups of coffee in New York City or 3 deep dish pizza dinners in Chicago. Harry's is an awesome product. It delivers high quality razor blades as low as $2 each, a fraction of the price of leading brands, and saving you hundreds of dollars at the same time. I really like the way that Harry's works. It has a very close shave, it's got a great design for the handle, and also the scent of the shave gel is fantastic and it leaves your skin nice and smooth. You can get a trial set delivered to your doorstep by going to harrys.com/frequency. Quality, durable blades at a fair price, just $2 a blade. They've cut out middlemen manufacturing blades in their German blade factory that's been honing precision blades for a century. I'm telling you, I use this product and it is absolutely amazing. Harry's has all your grooming needs covered in just one stop. You can get blades, hair care, shower products, all on harrys.com. And just like their blades, Harry is committed to providing premium products without breaking the bank. Again, visit harrys.com/frequency. I want to make sure that everybody gets the chance to go check it out. You can feel better too about the purchase because 1% of their proceeds are set aside for nonprofit organizations developed to helping provide access to better mental health care for men and veterans. How could you not get behind the veterans? So important nowadays. Listeners of the show can redeem their Harry's trial set at harrys.com/frequency. You'll get a weighted ergonomic handle for a firm grip, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade. I use it every day. Rich lathering shave gel with aloe to keep your skin hydrated. And I'm telling you, when you get done shaving, your face will feel so smooth, it's amazing. You even get a travel blade cover to keep your razors dry and easy to grab on the go. So make sure you go to harrys.com/frequency to start shaving and saving today. Like, what are the chances, right? You guys are both kind of like, I know you said you were maybe 6 months apart or whatever, but what are the chances that, two individuals doing something similar can come together and be one? I mean, that's a relationship right there. Congratulations. You guys got to get this.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And when we talk about remote leadership and remote teamwork, we're big believers in that because we wrote that first book remotely. We became best friends remotely. And then eventually, that led to, obviously the romantic relationship. But so much of that happened remotely that we know it's possible.
No, that's awesome. I remember the saying my mom used to tell me all the time about relationships. She used to say, if a man and a woman can each kind of do their own thing and by doing their own thing still come together and have a relationship, like that's what, a true relationship really is, because it's not one person being codependent on the other or anything like that. It's two people living within their strengths and their own values and their own on their own path, but being able to walk that path together, even though, it might be a separate path. They're right next to each other. So that's awesome. So I think earlier, Karin, you were talking about walking into the back of the airplane and writing down your leadership values. I think that's a really important thing for executive level leaders to understand. I think it's important for them to understand that for themselves, but also as they're mentoring and bringing new people up through middle management to manage other components of business. What would you say are some of those key leadership values or things that cause a great deal of high frequency leadership in order for people to kind of understand, like, hey, does this person exhibit those values, and am I exhibiting the proper values as a leader? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I will tell you the one that seems to be really impacting folks right now is how authentic are you? Are you showing up real? And particularly in a remote environment, in a pandemic, when there's so much stress and uncertainty, we are finding that the senior executives who are showing up and being very real and saying, you know what, I don't have all the answers. I'm struggling too. And what I do know is I believe in the strategic direction. I believe in where we're headed as a company. I believe in this team. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
That's who's winning right now. The ones who are, putting on, this is no big deal. We've got this, and are not being authentic or tapping in and letting their people be authentic, are the ones that are really struggling and losing the trust and connection with their teams.
Karin, I had to do that last week.
That's one where I would start, particularly now.
I had to do that last week, Karin. I was telling you my little story with the, having to go get COVID testing, right? And so I get on the phone the morning that it happens. I call my team and I'm like, hey, listen, I can't come to the office right now. I got a little COVID scare going on. My neighbor maybe had COVID. I don't know. We got to go get test results and figure all that stuff out, And I said, I'll call you back later on today once I know a little bit more, because right now I know nothing. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with my kid right now. So, I'll call you back later. Do you guys need anything from me right now, or are you guys able to, do what you need to do? And they're like, no, we're good. Go take care of it. Great. So then later on in the afternoon, I get a phone call from one of my employees, and he's like, hey, what's going on? I found out that you might have the COVID. I'm like, I went and saw my parents last night. He's like kind of freaking out. And he's like, so what's the plan? And I literally had to tell him, I was like, I don't know what the plan is yet. Never dealt with this before. I've been at this company for almost 18 years, never dealt with this. So just understand that I have your guys' best interests at heart, and we're going to do whatever we need to do to make sure that you guys are safe and the company still moves forward, because that's what we need to do. I said, so I understand that you want more information, but I don't have it for you right now. So just hang out, and at the latest, I'll let you know by in the morning, because it's hadn't even been 24 hours, since how that happened. And I got off the phone and I went, oh man, did I sound like I don't know what I'm doing? I started questioning myself. But then I talked to my wife, and my wife was like, yeah, but you don't know what we're doing. She's like, we're still trying to figure this out. So like, and right. So I was like, I was truthful and honest and upfront. And so it was really cool, because it was like my wife, who she does HR for a living too. So it was like, she pats me on the shoulder and she's like, it's okay, you did the right thing. But no, I think that's very good advice.
The other thing that you were, in addition to being truthful, the other thing that you were doing in terms of looking at the future was you said, when I know, you'll know. And so that clarity is also part of the equation, because to just throw up your hands and say, I don't know, well, that would not be reassuring. But to be reassuring and saying, when I do know, this is a fluid situation, when I know and we have the plan, you'll be the first to know, that gives everybody confidence.
Yeah, I just have to go out and thank good old Uncle Sam in the Navy for that one, because that's where a lot of my leadership stuff came from, was, being yelled at, and then also understanding that being yelled at doesn't work if you're trying to motivate people to do stuff. Except for in the military, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to yell at you, and if you don't do it, we're going to throw you in jail, right? And so like there's a whole different kind of level of integration that's happening at that level. But that is definitely something that I learned, like staying calm and cool-headed and making sure that you give away information that's informative, but at the same time, like, you can't show to your people like you're flustered either. As much as I was totally flustered, because I felt like I don't know what to say, I don't know exactly what to do. We're a small company. We have like maybe 17 or 18 employees. So, when all this whole pandemic stuff, it was like, oh, this is going to be an easy situation to solve. 95% of you guys can all go work from home, and there'll be 4 people here at the studio running radio shows and doing what we need to do. And yeah, I was just like, okay, well, we didn't really think of this scenario. And it happened to be on a day where I was supposed to cover for someone because somebody else was on vacation, right? And so now we're one guy down on vacation, me out, and the other team was just like, hey, we got it, we'll take care of it. And I was super proud of the team for, not getting upset, not getting angry, just understanding, hey, it is what it is. We all got something that we want to do. The ultimate result is the ultimate game is, like you guys have in your book, is you got to have advocates of your business, and you can't have advocates of your business if you don't have people in place to do the jobs that need to be done. And I was real happy that those guys just said, you know what, we know where we need to go. We know what we need to do. The ultimate goal is, and everybody just executed. So kudos to the team.
Good.
Gotta love that.
Yeah. So, you guys are doing coaching and, speaking to, people and businesses and such, and you guys are donating so much I wouldn't say donating, probably be the wrong terminology, but you're using a lot of your time to travel, to be part of online events, to be part of all of these different organizations and helping them out. When helping people find themselves, how do you make sure that you guys don't lose yourselves? How do you make sure to keep within, that space where you're not being, and I talked about this with Omar, and we're talking about servant leadership. I said, at what point do you become where you're serving too much? You're over serving, right? How do you keep that in check? What's the check and balances for that?
It's a really interesting question, and it's a very timely question. Because we went through this very fast pivot from moving all of our programs that we've been traveling 90%, a year ago, 90% of our programs were in person and they were international. So we were traveling a lot, and then boom, everything is virtual. And so that required a major pivot in technology, in everything, right? And so we had sort of the emergency of the pivot. And then we, from there, found that because Courageous Cultures came out and it was so timely in terms of the kinds of tools that people are yearning for right now, in addition to our current clients who we'd all pivoted to live online, we had all these new folks calling. So Amazon called and Microsoft called. And so really great, wonderful clients, and building new programs for them and needing them to go exactly right and figuring out their cultures and how can we add the most value. So we have had the busiest time possible. And so it's a question that we're really having is, how do we scale the business at the same time and not be working all the time?
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it is grounding in what do you do really well? Who else do you need to bring on board? And so that's really the conversation we've needed to have. What is the work that only we can do? The strategy, the writing, the tools, the delivery of some at some level of the programs, and then who else can we bring on to support in the marketing efforts, the social media efforts, some of that, because we were trying to do it all ourselves, and that was getting to be too much.
And I think it's an important question, both for the reason behind it as well as on the application execution side. The reason side, as we are working with leaders to help them navigate their own life and be, a confident, healthy leader for their people, we have to be that ourselves. And there have been times over the last 6 months where, I've written an article about how to do that. And I had to really take a hard look at myself and go, am I living what it is I'm recommending other people do here? And to have that alignment is vital. And so to Karin's point, some of that is the systems. And I think even before the systems, you have to decide for yourself as an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, what does success look like for you? And there's nobody that can tell you what that is. There are so many different definitions. And then building those systems and doing the things that align with that, and having a really honest look at what gets in the way. Or is what's getting in the way that you're reluctant to take a risk? Is what's getting in the way that you're reluctant to give something up that has made you feel good about yourself? I've certainly had that. I'll raise my hand on that one. Is what's getting in the way fear? There are a number of things that can get in the way. Sometimes it's doing work that isn't as shiny or fun, but needs to be done. And so, where is that's going to do that for you? And then at the individual level, I know to answer your question as directly as I can, it's, For me, it's been getting up a little bit earlier in the morning. Karen's done her own version of this as well, and doing the meditation and trying to keep up with the exercise and the walks in the park and nature and all those kinds of things that are, while mundane in their normalcy, they're essential in order to do that. So multiple answers to that question.
Yeah, and I'm glad you gave multiple answers, because it's I don't think it's a question that you can just answer with one answer. It's got a bunch of stuff. I do martial arts, and so I'm in the same boat. I still every day when I wake up and my alarm goes off, I still go, oh man, I could just get a little bit more sleep, just a little bit. But I know that if I don't get up and I don't push myself and I don't practice and I don't do, sit-ups and push-ups and, the things that are needed in order to train properly for karate, this is not going to work. You're not going to move any farther. And so like how you talk about meditation, when I do kata and forms and do those types of things in the morning, that's my time of self-reflection. And it is very, very needed. And on top of that is, I have a 7-year-old, so family time, as much 7-year-old time as I possibly can. On the weekend, I don't care what you're doing. If your 7-year-old says, Daddy, I want to paint your fingernails, you stop what you're doing and you let her paint your fingernails. Just do it. Play tea party, put on a dress. Who cares? She's 7. So that's something that I've kind of found that's helped me over the last 8 or so months with pandemic stuff and everybody being crammed together. My wife's still at home working, and it's been weird. She went home. I kept doing the same thing, commuting back and forth to work, and with all of those different changes comes a change in routine and a lot of those different things. So I think that was very helpful for what you guys said, because you gotta take that time.
Keep painting those fingernails. I love it.
You guys have to check out this new service that I'm playing around with called Issue. It is totally amazing. You live to create, but you don't live to worry over the last nitpicky details involved in putting final touches on contact. You got to do what you do best and let Issue handle the rest. If you're a creative, you know the drill. You're finally done editing. It's perfect. Now you just need format and reformat for every single platform. With Issue, make it once, and it's ready to post everywhere. Seriously, Issue is the all-in-one platform to create and distribute beautiful digital publications, from brochures to magazines and sales collateral. It's perfect for creators, marketers, designers, educators, publishers, salespeople, or just anyone that wants to make eye-catching content that can be distributed on multiple platforms. Issue makes it really simple. Just upload the PDFs and files, and Issue transforms them using your vision and customizable templates to create the content you want. With Issue, you just create it one time and distribute it everywhere. Everything is optimized to post on your website, social platforms like Instagram and Facebook. They can even help you make animated Instagram stories. And the best part about it, it is free. FREE free. That's right, it's free to get started with Issue. So go to issue.info/frequency to sign up for your free account. That's ISSUU.info/frequency to sign up and let them know that you heard about it from this show, Finding Your Frequency. Remember, that's .info, not .com, .info. So go to ISSUU.info/frequency and get your free account today. Oh yeah, you should have seen my team of audio engineers a couple of weeks ago. I came in with pink fingernails with glitter in them, and they're like, "Oh, you had a fun weekend." I'm like, "I did. It was awesome." And then we went skateboarding, and then we played volleyball, and yeah, it was just all good times. I'm one of those parents where I'm just like, whatever you want to do, you can do it. I don't even care what it is, as long as you don't give up. If you say you're going to go do something, you want to go play volleyball, then you're playing the whole season. You're not going to go play 2 games and then quit. And so we've got the opportunity to play so many fun games, and I think that whole parenting thing too is kind of a big stretch on your leadership skills, right?
Oh yeah,
it stretches them farther than anything that I've ever dealt with in actual workplace environment. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, and you will, it will be some of the most satisfying work that you do, I think, to demonstrate your leadership. It was really interesting. My older son is 25 and recently gotten married. Congrats. And I forget, we were playing some game, and his wife had to say what she appreciated most about my son. I thought, this will be interesting. And she said, I think it's his leadership. And I was like, oh, yes, my work here is done, and it just, because they're picking up what you're putting down. And I'm really that made me feel really good. So not only you being a good leader, but you're teaching your children how to be good leaders along the way.
Yeah, I mean, if there isn't anything that I do before I die, it's like I got to make sure that my offspring have they're well-adjusted human beings and can go off and go do their own thing. Especially being I don't want to say an only child, because I have another son. I have an older son who's 23, who lives in Missouri. He's married, and for her sake, she didn't grow up with anybody. She doesn't have any brothers or sisters, and so it's like, all right, well, you got to learn how to cook and clean and fight and because we do karate, right? You're going to learn all this stuff, because when you leave my house, you got to be prepared to live a life that you can just rely on yourself for support, right? And then we did parent-teacher conferences the last week or 2 weeks ago, and she's like, hey, Marley doesn't let anybody else answer any questions. And I'm like, what do you mean? Every time we ask a question, she always raise her hand in the air, and she's like, got to be the first one. She's like, she's a little bit bossy. And I told the teacher, I said, she's 7. You call it bossy. I call it early leadership skills. And so we had a nice little chuckle about that. But no, I mean, being a leader isn't just being a leader in business. It's being a leader all the time. It's being a leader when nobody's looking and doing the right thing and making sure that you're pointing yourself, your family, and your business in the right direction.
Yep.
So
without a doubt, and you had mentioned earlier about the need for that kind of leadership in the state we're in. And, the reality is we spend more time working with any other human being in our life, right? We're at work and we see those people more than we see our family. And so what is the culture that we're building there? What is the way that we're interacting? How are we solving problems together? All of that is vital for the business, absolutely, but much, it has application in all of life.
Yeah, 100%. So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about, you guys have so many books that you have. I mean, like, how many total books between the two of you do you guys have?
5 between us.
Wow. Oh, and a children's book. Is that the Glowstone Peak?
Speaking of 7 years old, it's actually written for a 7-year-old.
Yeah, if you send us your address, I'll send you a copy. It's called Glowstone Peak, and it's a story of courage, influence, and hope. And it has a female heroine, so I think it'd be perfect for your daughter.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I did an interview a couple of, actually now it's been like a year. So this woman's name is Reena Patel, and she's an early childhood educator. And she had this book that she sent to my daughter. I love it when people send my kid books because we love to read. And it was called Winnie and Her Worries. And it was all about the anxiety and the different things that kids deal with as they grow up. And this pandemic hit, and I pulled that book out. I was like, Marley, let's take a look at this again, Winnie and Her Worries, because she's worried about I got my friends and this, that, and the other. Anyways, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Definitely love reading to the kiddo. And then you guys got the 7 things your team needs to hear you say. David, what is that book about? Just paraphrasing for a minute or so.
Sure. Very quickly, it was, when you want to be as practical as you can, leaders are hard pressed, don't have a lot of time. So what are the phrases and that people need to hear you say as a leader? And then what do those represent, right? So you say things like, hey, try it. Give that a try, right? Well, that communicates a whole lot of things to your people, like your belief in them, your confidence in them, that you've maintained a safe playing field and how to go about it. That's not going to happen here. And then that's the accountability side of things and where you draw the lines and how you're, holding people accountable for how they're treating one another and the results you're getting and so on. So it's just a very practical, short, paperback way to think about some of the things you want to be saying and doing as a leader.
Get back to work is probably not one of those, right?
Get back to it.
No.
So our latest book that just came out this summer is called Courageous Cultures, How to Build Teams of Micro-Innovators, Problem Solvers, and Customer Advocates. And we are so delighted about this one because the journey began 3 years ago where we got really curious because we were noticing a consistent pattern with our clients that no matter what industry they were in, what country they were in, we'd see this tension of frustration where senior leaders would be like, hey, why don't more people share ideas? Why don't more people speak up? Then we'd go in and do work at the front line of the organization, and we'd hear things like, Nobody wants my ideas. Last time I spoke up, I got in trouble. We thought, are you working for the same company? So we partnered with the University of North Colorado Social Research Lab on this really extensive quantitative and qualitative research study to answer that question, and then to take that research of why people weren't speaking up and looking at the companies where people were speaking up, and then coming up with a very practical set of processes and tools to enable that to happen. So you could encourage more courage on your team.
Oh no, that's invaluable. I don't know how many times I've been like, why didn't you guys tell me you had a problem? Why didn't you tell me, communicate with me? I can help you fix it. We can solve it together. And they're like, oh, I didn't think you'd listen. And I'm like, well, okay, let back up. Now we have a whole other problem beside your idea, right? Because what part of the culture here makes you feel that I'm not going to listen to something that you have to say? I mean, isn't that not probably, isn't that the first hurdle that you have to get over in that space?
It is. And what's interesting is that before the culture that you establish as a leader, people have their own psychology that they're bringing to the table. And the work of Dr. Amy Edmondson, who is a Harvard professor and a leader in psychological safety and all this, was influential as we were grounding ourselves in the existing research. And she wrote the foreword to the book. But she talks about two elements that people are bringing to the table before you've had any interaction with them. The first is that we overweight past negative experiences. And so people have that tendency to think, well, because I had somebody 3 years ago, 5 years ago, or 6 months ago who wasn't receptive to their idea or their problem, or maybe you had a bad day, like we all have those bad days, and I wasn't as warm as I would have liked to have been. And so we overweight those things as human beings and tend to hang on to them. And then the flip side of that is that we also tend psychologically to underestimate the future benefit of a positive idea. So we're like, well, if I bring this up, is it really going to make a difference? Am I really going to get benefit from it? And we tend to underweight that. So those two things going on in most human brains start before any leadership or culture has taken place. So every leader, we want to be aware of those so that we can start proactively building that culture. Doesn't mean you did anything, just means that's the stuff people are bringing to the table.
Yeah, no, I mean, and for my own particular use case, it took let's have a talk tomorrow when you're not in the middle of working. Like, once you get done with all your stuff, before you leave, just come stop by my office. Let's have a chat for 10 minutes. Just because I want to know where your head's at, and I want you to know where my head's at. So, and that 10 minutes was invaluable, and it ended up not being a culture thing. It ended up being a psychology thing, is what it ended up being. And so we were able to break past that, and now I get all kinds of ideas that I just take them all, and I go, thank you for the idea. I'm going to talk about this with the rest of the senior leadership team, and we'll see what happens. If it's something that directly impacts, like I run an entire division of the company. If it's something that has to do with our day-to-day operations, and it's something that's more cost-effective or time-efficient, I'm not going to go ask anybody for approval. I'm going to be like, that is great. If you want to implement that, go right ahead. Because I mean, one of the things I think leaders need to do sometimes is get out of their employees' way, because my way isn't necessarily the best way. I mean, for me as a leader, I want results. I want an end result. If your end result and my end result are exactly the same, it took us both the exact same amount of time to get there, but you just did it in a couple different steps, or your orders of steps were slightly different. I mean, ultimately, that's what's the important thing, right? Is, did we execute what we needed to execute to keep our customer happy, right? Because that's the bottom line. That's the end result. And I think a lot of leaders, they forget about that, and they go, no, you're doing it wrong. Well, no, they're not doing it the way that you're doing it, but they're also not doing it wrong. Let's speak on that a little bit.
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier about just having that first conversation. The importance of taking initiative as a leader to say, like when we have these conversations with leaders about this work, frequently we'll hear somebody say, well, I've got an open door. Everybody knows I'm open to ideas. There's a difference between that and proactively going out and asking and inviting feedback, solutions, bringing up, hey, this is the problem that we have strategically. This is where we could most use a great idea, and going out and specifically seeking that out. And so having those conversations is important, because the reality is the best ideas aren't going to walk through that open door. If someone needs to complain or talk about a real negative thing like harassment or some toxic thing that's going on, it's good to have an open door, but to advance your business and draw those best ideas and all the good thinking out of your people, that takes intentionality. And, I think that's the starting switch that we want to flip to start taking those steps.
Karin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we have a 7-step process that we take people through, and it starts with navigating your own narrative. Like, do you really want to hear their ideas? Because sometimes people say, actually, no, I don't. And then a courageous culture isn't for you. Or what are you role modeling? Like, are they watching you speak up? Are you talking, if you've got a boss, are you speaking up to the boss? Are you talking to the board? Are you willing to talk to your suppliers and have truthful conversations? Or are you playing the political game? That's the first thing. So navigating the narrative, then creating clarity about two things, not just that you really want people's ideas, but what would a good idea accomplish? A lot of the times when people say, my people just aren't that strategic, they don't have enough clarity to be strategic. Do they really know where you're headed? Then cultivating curiosity, that's where you deliberately go out and ask people for their ideas, and we've got tools to do that. But then responding with regard, letting people know what you did with their ideas. And that process is really, really critical. And then a couple other elements, but finally, one is, creating an infrastructure for courage, which means what are your HR systems and processes doing to things? How are you asking for people for their ideas in the onboarding process? Who are you rewarding? What are you rewarding? Who gets promoted around here? Is it the person who speaks up, or is it the person who keeps their head down and does exactly what you tell them to do? Everybody is watching that, and it all plays into creating a courageous culture.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. Are you having trouble finding hand sanitizer? Well, Spa Treat has you covered. There's no need to go searching high and low. Just visit spatreatofficial.com and place your order on their easy-to-use website. On schedule delivery. One of the great things about this product, Spa Treat Fulfillment Team is working around the clock to provide people hand sanitizer during this time of need and get your order to you as quickly as possible, even faster than Amazon. Spa Treat also has the lowest price of any of its competitors. Spa Treat has 62% alcohol content, and the FDA recommends between 60 to 80 for maximum protection. This one has 62 because it doesn't dry your hands out. I use this stuff every single day. It is fantastic. It's got certified organic extracts with the ingredients in that hand sanitizer that are of the highest quality, and they're designed to leave your hands smelling and feeling fresh while protecting you at the same time. The best part, there's no tricky residue left over. None of that sticky stuff. 4 scents available: unscented, tea tree, lavender, and lemon. And best of all, this product right here is made in the good old United States of America. A lot of companies are having trouble dealing with the current demands, so Spa Treat has dedicated themselves to providing a much needed product in the time of crisis. Spa Treat has better prices, faster shipping, and a larger supply than any of their competition. There isn't even a close second. Visit spatreatofficial.com and enter promo code SPA SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. That's right. Not only are they offering the lowest price available, but they're also offering our listeners a discount. This promo code is exclusive to Voice America, and only our listeners get this discount. Spa Treat and Voice America came together on this sponsorship in order to provide Americans something they could really need right now: peace of mind. Visit spatreatofficial.com and order yours today. That's spatreatofficial.com, and make sure you use the promo code SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. Spatreatofficial.com. Get your awesome hand sanitizer. Back on the idea of ideas, of employees bringing ideas to the table and making sure that you're open for those. And I agree, having an open door policy is one thing, but getting out of your chair and going out of your office and going to mingle with the other people who you're working with and actually being there. I even take it a step further. I'm going to be like, hey, you know what? On Friday, we're going to order some sandwiches. And I'm going to come hang out with you guys, and we're going to chit chat, find out how your week's been going. And I found that to be a very good tool just to open the door for, the team to feel comfortable having conversations, because some of my team are introvert. Some of them are extrovert. Some of my team, they are here to do a job. They're not necessarily trying to make work friends, and so, being able to kind of cultivate a team environment where it allows the introvert to be introverted, the extrovert to extrovert, but at the same time to figure out a way where we can have, some sense of team and some sense of working together and togetherness. It's a difficult thing to focus. And I think a lot of times, leaders, when they're, poised to try to get ideas from their people or to deliver stuff. I think sometimes leaders are afraid that if they allow their employees to speak up, well, maybe their ideas are going to be better than the leader's ideas, and then they're not going to have a job or they're not going to have a career anymore. I mean, how often are you guys seeing, some of those stigmas getting in the way of leaders?
You know what, that was the most interesting, surprising statistic in our research. And when we were back on the keynote stage, it was the one where the audiences would go, oh, yeah. So 57% said the reason they're not sharing an idea is because they don't think they'll get credit for it. And a lot of times, who was taking credit for it? Their boss.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge percentage. And, and seeing that resonate on the faces of the audience, that it seems to be a very common experience for folks. And so that's part of why you need to do training at every level of the business, right? You can't ignore the middle managers, because if the executives want ideas, but the middle managers are afraid to not look good or that's where you've got to fix that challenge and make it safe and even encourage, like, a part of your job as middle manager is to be bringing me ideas from your teams and to share that and make that real.
Yeah. If you're clear about what success looks like, that a successful leader in this organization is going to be one who is got that support and funnel of ideas flowing. We're not going to use them all. That's okay. But are we cultivating it? Are we rewarding the act of sharing? Are we responding with regard and having those conversations? If that's what success looks like and that's what we hold people accountable for, then it will flow throughout the entire group.
Where does all of that stuff start? That culture, that cultivation?
Well, it's interesting. When we talk about a courageous culture and the definition of culture from Seth Godin, that people like us do things like this, that's what culture is. So if a courageous culture is people like us raise our hands, speak up on behalf of the customer, solve problems, and improve processes, if that's what it looks like, the reality is there's a paradox there, in that it doesn't take, once you establish that, it doesn't take as much courage for any member of the group to raise their hand and say, hey, I've got a thought, I've got an issue, I've got a problem that we need to address, because that's what everyone does. So there's less risk in it if everyone else is doing it. But why do we call it a courageous culture? Because somebody has to go first. So where does it start? Starts with you. You're the one listening. You're the one leading your team. You're the one leading your company. Starts with you. And so as Karin was talking earlier about navigating the narrative and being the one to go first and have the appropriate level of vulnerability and willingness to hear ideas that may indeed tell you you're not doing as good a job as you could have been, or advocating for your team with the board or with your boss in a way that is aligned with the strategy and with the values that the company purports, and doing those things. When you do those things, that's the start. So,
part of what that can look like is just creating a specific space to let that happen. So one of the most popular programs we have been doing since the pandemic has been Live Online, where we'll work with a senior leader and we'll say, tell us your 5 strategic areas or 3 strategic areas. Just pick a couple of strategic areas where you really need great ideas. Let's be as specific as possible. And then we work with the teams and we teach them the tools. How do you own the ugly and brainstorm through? This is our idea model of how you vet a good idea. Here's how you make your case for your idea. So we're teaching the process, but they're working on real strategic challenges. What is so interesting is that at the end of a couple of hours doing that, the ideas that come out are so fascinating. Like, wow, those ideas were clearly there all along. All we taught was a process. We didn't teach them ideas. And so now they have these tools that they can do quarterly or any time, where they can go back and say, okay, where we need a new idea now? Here. Now just do this, follow the process. And so I think that's why it starts with a senior leader, but it's also empowering your team with more critical thinking skills and ways to do it so they feel confident. Like, so our idea model, why is this idea interesting? D, doable. E, engaging. Who would you engage? A, what are a couple of key next steps? Well, if you say, when you bring me an idea, bring it to me in that way, now I'm bringing you better baked ideas. So I'm getting more confident that to bring forward my ideas.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Good stuff. I love the whole acronym for idea that you just laid out for the listeners. That's great. Let's see. We got about, I don't know, about 7-8 minutes left here on the program. If you guys were sitting in front of a brand new entrepreneur, a brand new CEO of a startup company who has the visions of, Facebook grandeur, let's say, gigantic tech company, but wants to make sure that to start their company off with the right culture, the right leadership, but this person's never been a leader before. They just have a great idea for a business. Where would you tell them to start their journey of making sure that they understand what true leadership is and being a leader before they step 2 feet into the entrepreneurial world? Because we know that gets crazy.
I have two, sort of the philosophical and the practical. So philosophically, ground yourself in your values, have a real clear vision of where you're headed and what you want to be. And there's a lot of good tools on how to ground entrepreneurs in that. And if you were because we work with so many people,
but Karin,
like this,
I just want to make money. I just want to make money. I got great ideas. I just want to make money.
This is what I would beg you to do. Get a COO. Right? Because we have been working with so many people and they've got these ideas, but if they don't know how to lead, and even more importantly, they don't really want to lead, they don't want to manage people, they want to just go do the vision thing, then they are not going to be effective leaders. And so, who's doing this really well is when people can partner up and have a vision person with an ops person. And, I just literally got off a phone call with somebody like this. And I'm like, you just need a COO.
And if you're not sure, we would recommend our book, Winning Well, A Manager's Guide to Getting Results Without Losing Your Soul. Like, it is a soup to nuts resource for that management side of things and gives you the roadmap of what it looks like to take care of your people in a way that's going to help them take care of your vision and the work that you're trying to achieve. And then you can figure that out pretty quickly. Like, oh my goodness, I've got to stay here and I need somebody to do this. And, when you hit the right side, but factor that in. I totally agree with Karin. Factor that into your business planning from the beginning.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. And I like what you said, Karin, about, that's where, some of the best partnerships in business come is you have a visionary kind of person who's, got this focus on what can be. And then you have this other person who's like, those are great ideas. We got to get there. Let's build a foundation first. Let's have some, let's put some concrete down before we start throwing bricks in the sky. Definitely. Yep. Oh, I love that. So, what's on the horizon for you guys? We're, listening to us today. It's Black Friday. We got about a month left of 2020, and I don't know. I think that December 31st, 2020 is going to be like party central day, just like it was like December 31st, 1999, maybe, just with so many people being excited about 2021. But what's in store for your guys' 2021?
Yeah, so we are definitely in that mode of scaling the business and figuring out how we can serve more people without it just being totally reliant on us. So we've been spending a lot of time strategically onboarding new team members, scaling the business, being able to deliver programs to a wider range of people and a wider range of needs.
And from an IP standpoint of the work that we do, one of the changes that's on the horizon is a lot more hybrid work situations, so that you've got, so many teams right now that have to be on site but they're working in a very tough situation. Then you've got a lot of folks who are remote, and everything that we're seeing, on the horizon looks like there's going to be a combination. And so helping leaders to be able to navigate that is definitely going to be some of the challenge, I think, ahead for the workplace. And so we'll be there in the middle of it.
Yeah, on our website, we have a free remote teams resource center. So there's a lot of writing, a lot of research around all that. So if anybody wants to check that out, some tools that people can use if they're struggling with that right now.
Yeah, and I would urge everybody, listeners, make sure you guys go check out the website, letsgrowleaders.com. Just the website in and of itself, not even getting into all of your programs, has a wealth of information on leadership stuff that you guys are just basically giving away for free, which I think is wonderful, which, touts back to some stuff we kind of talked about earlier about servant leadership, right? It's you guys are showing your true leadership nature by allowing people to come to your platform and pick a few things out that they may need to know about and read before they get further engaged and down the path of David and Karin's leadership training, which I think is amazing. So kudos to you guys on that. Those are invaluable resources, and I would urge anybody who's looking for leadership training to go check out your website. Where do people find you? I know I just left out the website, but what about social medias? I say social medias because there's 2,700 of them, and they're apparently everybody's leaving Facebook and Twitter now to go to Me or Parler or some other stuff. I don't even know what's going on. We could be having a completely different conversation in a year from now about what social media sites people are on. It's just been a crazy year.
So, the place that we show up the most and every day is LinkedIn. And so that is a really good way to find us. I run on Fridays, I do a series called Asking for a Friend on Fridays at 11:30. And you can come join us. And we talk about, sometimes I have guests, we talk about very practical tools. David has a podcast called Leadership Without Losing Your Soul podcast, which is also great. We have our blog, which is Let's Grow Leaders. Of course, we're on all the Instagram. My marketing person would say, please mention you're on Instagram so people will follow you there. But we try to show up a lot. And but anything you can find, and all paths come in through our Let's Grow Leaders website. You can find everything else where we are from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on Finding Your Frequency. Karin, David, you guys are wonderful guests. I appreciate everything that you guys do. From one leader to another, thank you for what you guys are putting out into the world. You guys who are listening, Courageous Cultures, Karin Hurt, David Dye. Go check out the book. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. You can find it anywhere books are sold. So make sure you guys go get out there, buy yourself a copy. Get ready for 2021. What else are you going to do? You're going to be at home. You ain't got nothing to do. You ain't going nowhere. You're not going to, I don't know how many people were at your Thanksgiving Day festival yesterday, but there's only going to be about 6 at mine. I don't even know what we're doing for Christmas yet. I'm definitely not traveling, I can tell you that much. So what better time to brush up on your leadership development skills and go read a couple of books, get ready for 2021, right?
Perfect. Love it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in to Finding Your Frequency right here on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. We bring you brand new episodes every Friday at 12 o'clock Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, you can listen to all the episodes on any of the podcast distribution outlets that are out there. And if you're listening to us on one of those and not on voiceamerica.com, that's okay. I'm not mad at you. You can listen to whatever you want. But if you're listening on iTunes or TuneIn, Stitcher, any of those places, Spotify, please make sure to give us 5 stars instead of 4, because I believe we're 5-star human beings. We deserve that. And, got to get those rankings up there, and you got to get more people listening to the show. We appreciate you guys for listening to the show. And because it's our Thanksgiving Day special, again, I want to say thank you to our guests for being on. And again, thank you to all the listeners for 5 years of talk radio programming, and you guys following us all over heck and back and still being there during the 2020 pandemic, because I know a lot of you guys aren't driving anymore. So a lot of you guys were listening as you commuted back and forth to work. And so it's nice to see that everybody's finding new listening habits as we manage all of this new stuff that we're dealing with. And again, I want to thank David and Karin for being on the program, and make sure you guys tune in next week right here on Finding Your Frequency.